Copyright in the age of AI, it's a question that lots of people are asking, especially in the creative industries, the marketing world, organizations of all shapes and sizes. I'll start by saying I'm not a lawyer, even though I've watched every episode of Law and Order. And in my opinion, LA Law is still the best legal show ever created. Yes, even better than Suits, although I'm a huge Harvey Specter fan. So I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to talk about like any of the current regulations being considered or the minutia of like European regulations versus what regulations might be enacted in the United States or other parts of the world. But I think there's a few things we can and should be asking ourselves and using it to prompt discussions. One is, where did today's copyright laws come from? They're not a function of physics. These copyright laws that we all currently agree to and abide by were created over a period of time. And they were created based on trying to balance competing objectives and incentives and priorities for the individual creators, for companies that invested in developing and purchasing and creating additional value out of IP over time, out of balancing the requirements of society at large, out of creating the right economic conditions to encourage people to create IP so that they can benefit from it and continue to invest into that IP or creating new IP. So these current laws evolved over time, and I think it would be valuable to go back and look at the history of where they came from, the whys and the whats and the hows over a period of time, to understand that context and that evolution. And then today, we need to root ourselves again in blank canvas thinking. We have our current copyright laws, but let's imagine for a moment, as part of an intellectual exercise, that they didn't exist and we now have these AI capabilities, the ability to copy what anyone else does, whether it's a piece of art, a video, software code, or anything else in a blink of an eye. How do we think about different competing interests and priorities and creating the right balance for our societies? What do we value? What do we want to be valued tomorrow? And how do we create, again, the right mix so that it makes sense for society and the economy as a whole, for individual creators, for organizations who are investing into either creating or acquiring IP, and then for us as a population at large? Because one of the things that this age of AI has done is that it has opened up the ability for more of us to participate in creating. And creation has always come from building on remixing what was done yesterday. Even the greatest artists of our time, whether it's Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Raphael, whoever else, they all learned and were inspired by, which is a fancy way of saying, in part, copied what came before. So this current narrative around, yes, it's really easy to use a tool like Midjourney, Sora, and others to be able to generate new creative based on the creative that was produced yesterday by others. We need to talk about that and the implications to those creators. And what are the economic implications to them? And how does that change and perhaps pervert the incentives of any one of us wanting to create tomorrow? But we have to balance that with, is it going to be valuable for us individually, collectively, as an economy, to have more people participating in that creative process, even if it is, quote unquote, easier to take what was done yesterday and remix it and produce something new, just like artists and creators have done throughout the history of humankind. But these are the types of conversations we need to have. The answers are not going to be easy, but it is through the conversations, through the discussions, the debates, the arguments, that we will get to a new understanding of a better set of copyright laws so that we can take advantage of these new capabilities, take advantage of more people being able to participate in the creative process in all its forms, visual, software development, whatever it may be, but still have the right economic incentives in place so individuals and organizations continue to develop valuable IP that we all can benefit from as a society.